Hollywood loves its visual effects, and the technology has come a long way through the years. So much so that movies where the main character can bend reality aren't far-fetched to make at all. So today we decided to take a look at 5 amazing before and after Hollywood VFX. If you're new to the channel, you can hit that red button to subscribe and enable notifications to stay up to date with our videos. Star Wars: The Force Awakens definitely stepped up the VFX in the Star Wars franchise after some not-so-great moments in the prequels. In fact, it was even nominated for an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. And looking at some of the before and after reels give us an idea of just how much work went into the VFX on this project. There were layers and layers and layers of artwork that went into seemingly every shot. There were also lots of entirely CG characters that showcase just how far CG technology has come since some of the previous Star Wars movies. And surprisingly, BB-8, who you think would be one of the easiest characters to just fully create in CGI, was actually physically there in a lot of scenes being controlled by a puppeteer. Overall, the VFX on this movie is one of the things that made it such a big success and brought new life into the Star Wars franchise. And if we're lucky, things will be even better in The Last Jedi. Doctor Strange was the first Marvel movie to deal heavily with magic, and since magic isn't a real thing, as far as we know, the VFX teams had a ton of work to do on this one. Some sizzle reels from Industrial Light and Magic as well as the VFX company Framestore show the incredible amount of detail that went into creating the mind-bending visuals of Doctor Strange. It's also pretty nuts to see what they started with, essentially some dudes flailing their arms around in front of a green screen, to what the final product looks like. Also, moments where you think maybe the moments were captured on a green screen were actually fully CGI. Still not entirely convinced they didn't use actual magic for some of that. The general consensus around the Hobbit trilogy is that it actually relied too heavy on CGI. Obviously, the original Lord of the Rings trilogy also used a lot of CGI and not always to great effect, but The Hobbit used so much CGI it made Gandalf cry. Ian McKellen actually said he cried on set because he was just forced to do everything on a green screen alone and not actually interact with other actors. Still though, it's super interesting to see how they created this entire world. They managed to do some pretty impressive stuff even though lots of fans didn't exactly fall in love with it. According to some behind-the-scenes stuff, 25% of the shots were entirely CG. Okay, just straight up, Andy Serkis deserves an Oscar. His motion capture work on the Planet of the Apes movies has been absolutely nuts. And these movies are also a great look at what's possible with this kind of motion capture technology that made Avatar so revolutionary. What's also interesting about these films is that they brought their mocap actors outside into lots of real locations. Traditionally, studios just capture everything indoors and add stuff in digitally. They also mentioned in the making of that some of the apes had up to 1 million strands of individual digital hair. That's a lot of detail. What's cool about these movies is that they really made it their mission to capture the performances of the actors, as opposed to kind of just making one up after the fact. Okay, let's go beyond magical creatures and superheroes and talking apes. There's a whole genre of movie that's just about pure destruction, like 2015 San Andreas. Because the studio wasn't actually allowed to destroy California, that meant some intense VFX work. Layers and layers of digital imagery mixed in with actual photographs and video of the locations they wanted to destroy allowed them to completely mess up iconic locations, like the Hoover Dam and the Golden Gate Bridge. Was San Andreas the best movie ever? Very debatable. Actually, not even debatable. It wasn't. But did it have some pretty crazy VFX going on? Absolutely. And that does it for today's quick list. Let us know in the comments section what you thought of the VFX in these movies and what other movies you'd like us to take a look at. If you're watching this on the Screen Rant Facebook page, you can hit that link to jump over to YouTube and subscribe. Thanks for watching.